Right now at noon, a new lawsuit alleging decades of widespread sexual abuse in Clark County's Juvenile Justice Center. Plus, 2 days after the deadly stabbings in Washington, we are learning the identity of the suspect and the people involved.
You just kind of go into go mode and just dig him out until you can find his face.
And a skier's dream turns into a nightmare. How 2 riders saved this man's life, all caught on camera.
The Olympics are over, but the Paralympics are just beginning.
2 Oregonians getting their chance to shine in Italy. Their story of resilience coming up. Our top story here at noon today. Right now, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is just through those doors, answering questions about her connection to late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Thanks so much for joining us here at noon. I'm Stephanie Domerat. Former Secretary Clinton's deposition comes as part of a House Oversight Committee investigation into prominent figures tied to the Epstein files. According to NBC, just within the last hour, Clinton told the committee, quote, "I had no idea about their criminal activities. I do not recall ever encountering Mr. Epstein. I never flew on his plane or visited his island home or offices," end quote. Now, this is the first time in American history a former president and first lady have been forced to appear before a congressional committee under a subpoena. Tomorrow, a committee will hear from former President Bill Clinton. And back here closer to home in Clark County, a new lawsuit alleges decades of widespread sexual abuse in the county's Juvenile Justice Center. The abuse is alleged to have happened over almost 40 years. KGW's Thomas Schultz walks us through the lawsuit.
An attorney for the survivors says they never met, but their stories of abuse are very similar. The new civil lawsuit claims the victims were detained at the Clark County Juvenile Justice Center as children from 1978 to 2014. It alleges detention staff members used their power to groom, threaten, and sexually abuse the kids. Plaintiffs say in some cases they were sexually assaulted during strip searches or isolated in supply closets or other blind spots. They say staff members threatened to harm victims to silence them. When victims tried to speak up, the lawsuit alleges they were ignored.
Just based on the similarities of abuse and the countless youth who have gone through the youth correction facility, I have to imagine that there's others out there who maybe they've held this their entire lives, haven't told anybody.
We reached out to Clark County for a statement. They said they do not comment on pending litigation. We also followed up to ask about a person named in the lawsuit who appears to still work for juvenile detention. We didn't hear back on that. Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
Thomas, thank you. And an important reminder, if you or someone you know is a survivor of sexual assault, know that help is available 24/7. You can call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at the number you see here on your screen, 800-656-4673. All right, let's switch gears now and give you a live look over the Dalles. This is a pretty view. This is the clear sky and a beautiful shot of Mount Hood right now. Let's get a check of your forecast and check in with Chris. Looks windy though.
You know what it is? Actually, this is from Timberline. I brought this up because, hey, you got a couple of climbers trying to make a lunchtime summit here. There they are right there. And it is breezy up there, but it is a bluebird day on the mountain. By the way, wind gusts right now at just above Timberline, gusting to about 46. This morning, before the sun broke out, we of course had the fog again, and we got a nice little time lapse of that over the interstate bridge from our Springs to the Waterfront camera. You could see a little bit of, let's see if we get that in there. There we go. Yeah, a little sliver of daylight there on the horizon. The fog this morning, not nearly as thick as it was yesterday, but it was still thick enough to kind of shield out that sun for a while. We go live now, and you can see that is completely burned off. And the live picture here from Vancouver showing a beautiful lunchtime. 48 degrees there. Fog has burned off at our state capital as well. We're 44 last check in Salem, and over downtown Portland, 48 degrees under a partly to mostly sunny sky right now. And that is the plan for the rest of the day, inching into the lower 50s today. So a really nice Thursday, a nice Friday, and a weekend forecast that still looks pretty good. Although I do want to mention this, Stephanie. There is at least the slightest chance for some rain along the central coast and maybe in the central Willamette Valley as well. And I'll show you why we've got that in there coming up in just a few minutes.
Okay, we'll see you then, Chris. Thank you. International headlines this afternoon. The U.S. has resumed indirect negotiations with Iran over the country's nuclear program. This is the third meeting between both sides. Both sides are back at the table after several hours of a break this morning. It comes amid a massive buildup of U.S. military strength in the Middle East. President Trump and congressional Republicans have also suggested strikes could be possible if Iran doesn't agree to stop enriching uranium. So far, there appears to be little clear progress towards a deal here. The State Department is working to diffuse tensions with Cuba after Cuban forces shot at a U.S. registered boat they claim was carrying terrorists. Cuban officials say 10 Cuban exiles from the U.S. aboard the Florida registered speedboat opened fire on Cuban patrol boat just a mile offshore. That's when border guards fired back, killing 4 people. Cuba's interior minister says assault rifles, handguns, homemade bombs, and bulletproof vests were recovered from the boat. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the U.S. would carry out an independent investigation before responding. New details are emerging in the investigation of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Authorities have now ruled a 911 call on the night she went missing to be unrelated. The caller claimed a woman was hanging out of a window and screaming just a few miles from her residence. Investigators returned to Guthrie's home yesterday, marking the most visible activity in several days. Officials say they are working to return the home to the family. So far, a suspect still has not been identified. 2 days after the deadly stabbings in a small town near Tacoma, we are learning more about the people involved. 4 people were killed Tuesday morning before a deputy shot and killed the suspect. Drew Andre tells us more after speaking with neighbors.
Well, they're all checking in on each other. People there are trying to go about their day as normal, but they won't forget the horror they saw Tuesday morning. We know one of the victims is the mother of the suspect. Her name is Zoya Shablikina. She filed a domestic violence protection against her son Alexander last year. Tuesday morning, deputies were called to Zoya's home for a reported violation of that protection order, but turns out it had never been served. So a deputy was on the way to formally serve it, and that's when witnesses began calling 911, reporting a man stabbing people outside the home. Here's one neighbor.
It was still extremely shocking because, it's the son and the mother.
The court documents show there were concerning signs in the past. In that court petition, the mother alleged her son was engaging in what she described as witchcraft and occult rituals inside of her home, and wrote that he believed he was an Egyptian god. Neighbors told us the 3 other seemingly random neighbors killed were just trying to step in to help. Their identities have not yet been released by law enforcement. In the newsroom, Drew Andre, King 5 News.
Well, Portland City Council has unanimously approved a plan to rezone 19 properties to allow nonprofits and public agencies to expand or preserve affordable housing. The idea is to remove red tape for those organizations to fast-track projects on land they already own. When our team visited one of those properties in the Centennial neighborhood, longtime neighbors expressed concern, saying they've watched the existing affordable housing complex attract homelessness and crime.
We had a homeless camp in our backyard for almost 2 years with no city input or help.
My fears are that more people are going to come into our yard. For instance, a month and a half ago, we had a guy screaming on our front step.
Another project includes 16 homes in the Cully neighborhood to be developed by Habitat for Humanity.